No, it's not. I've seen people unironically comparing this to like Lord of the Rings Gollum in terms of quality and calling it like an asset flip and a bunch of things like that about how horrible it is, and I definitely think it's overhated, but that being said, it's not great either. I posted a video yesterday for the first 4 hours of my playthrough where I called it pretty good, and now that I'm almost done with it, I have 3 Night Lords left, I can say it is still just pretty good. It's fine, which, in a From Software catalog, that's a big eyebrow raiser. That's very unusual. The reason I'm reviewing it now, even with 3 Night Lords still left on my plate, is because I know even when I gobbled them up, my opinion on it's not going to change because the game isn't changing at all, and it hasn't been for the last like 6 hours. After killing the second Night Lord, everything else is just exactly the same over and over and over again. It's just getting really stale, and it has been for a while now. I don't regret buying it, and I'm still enjoying playing through with my friends, but there are some serious problems with this game. I still don't think it's a bad game by any means, but it is definitely one of From Software's weakest games. There's some baffling decisions too that a lot of people are talking about with no crossplay, even in a game that's all about playing with friends and a co-op experience. There's no communication tools, which is inexplicable, and there's also no duos. How the fuck does that make sense? There's trios and solos, that's it. I think they just forgot about the option of having one other friend as opposed to 2. Very odd. The game is just not amazing. It's just pretty good. It's fine. I'm still going to finish it on stream tonight. I want to make sure I get the maximum juice for the squeeze here. I got up and turned on the display behind me so you can see that I have tons and tons of From Software memorabilia and accoutrements. I am one of the biggest From Software glazers you will find. It's rare that a From Software sentence leaves my mouth without their dick deep in my throat. I'm a huge fan of their games, so it pains me to say that Nightreign I think is more of a miss than it is a hit. Its biggest saving grace is it's not a full price title, it's $40, but even then, as I've been saying on stream, I think 40 is still a little expensive for the experience this offers. I'd say after you defeat your first 2 Night Lords, which will take most people, I imagine, 3, maybe 4 hours, you've experienced everything this game has to offer. It's a co-op, boss rush, gauntlet, roguelike. All of these terms I'm using extremely loosey-goosey because it is malnourished in all of those departments. To break down the gameplay loop, you and 2 friends will queue up for an adventure, or really lack thereof an adventure, and God forbid if you don't have 2 people to party up with and you play the solo, you're in for a miserable time based on all the people that are talking about the agony of solo. So if you are going to play this without friends, I would say at least random queue. You can just publicly queue. That's going to be your best bet. I haven't even tried it solo, I couldn't imagine. But once you queue up, you will choose between one of 8 classes. The classes offer some skills that you will utilize, and they excel in different things, and then you enter the Elden Ring map, the same map that you're familiar with, and you drop in, and as a storm is approaching, it corrals you like sheep, fucking herds you into a central spot at the end, where after killing a bunch of enemies and a bunch of bosses, all of which are recycled from Elden Ring, the only difference is there's a few new movesets for some of them, but after doing that, getting randomized loot, the storm pushes you into a central location where you fight a boss at the end of day 1, and you do the same thing, repeating that again on day 2, where you will fight a boss at the end of day 2, and then after that, if you're successful in defeating it, you will then fight a Night Lord. After fighting a Night Lord, your run ends, whether you win or lose. The Night Lords are new, and some of them are cool. A lot of them are bad. The 4th Night Lord in particular is, I think, one of the worst From Software bosses we've seen since fucking Bed of Chaos. It's not like a gimmick boss or anything. It is just so boring. It is a flying jellyfish amalgamation of ass and poop that just flies around forever and will occasionally touch down, and it spawns some little hands and it pisses water at you sometimes. But the only way it seems to fight it is by picking the archer or anyone with range, because otherwise you just don't have any real windows to attack it, and it'll occasionally drop a nuke. I hate that boss. It's not a hard boss. It only took 2 tries to kill it. Like, we killed it on our 2nd try. It's just so boring and tedious. But some of the other Night Lords are cool. Like even the first Night Lord I think is cool, but for some reason it feels like some of them really took a page out of Elden Beast where they're always running away from you, which just isn't fun. But anyway, that's the entire gameplay loop. You spend 2 days on the Elden Ring map that you're already familiar with fighting the enemies, you've already fought a million times, and then you'll fight the Night Lord, and you get randomized drops. You will get relic drops at the end of a Night Lord attempt, and the relics are used in your classes through like your urns or your goblets, and you will set up like your buffs going into each run to make your character stronger. Now my biggest complaint here is how every run feels exactly the same. You drop into the same map, albeit in different locations, but your route usually kind of stays the same. The enemies change a little bit, but not often. There's some enemies that are always going to be in the same locations, it seems, no matter what, and the bosses that you encounter at the end of day 1 and day 2, like there's only like 5 total, it feels like. I've seen every single one of them multiple times, and I've done only like 11 expeditions in total, I think. Maybe only 10. And I've seen every enemy, every boss, and I've killed almost every Night Lord. There's just not a whole lot of meat on the bones here. And every run, like I said, feels the same. The loot is very underwhelming. Like, some of the weapons are great, the weapons that you already know from Elden Ring, of course, but they're really fun to use, and they synergize well with some of the skills, especially like Duchess. I like playing Duchess. She's one of the classes you can choose from, and last night, in by far the best run I've had, I got an Eleanor's Pole Blade drop, which made me feel really strong because it worked really well with the stopwatch, where I get a bleed proc, and then I immediately pop that skill, the stopwatch, which basically just repeats all of that damage, so I get another bleed proc, basically. I was chugging the fuck out of them. I was eating their lunch, and it felt great. But that was also the first time so far across my entire, like 12 or so hours that I ever felt strong, which is another huge complaint where in roguelikes, you feel like you're getting really powerful, and there's so much variety to the builds based on like the randomized drops that you will be getting. They steer your build path and what you're trying to do. In Nightreign, every drop just feels so trivial, and it never really makes you think. It never really makes you have to even like consider a build option, really, because pretty much all of it feels very lazy. Most of like the passive buffs you get from killing a boss are just increased stamina recovery speed, increased max health. Like, that's not fun. That's really underwhelming. There are occasionally some cool ones that were there. They're very rare though, but there are some where they'll have effects when you're walking. I actually made an entire walking build because I got really lucky with walking drops. So I made a walk maxing build where when I walked, I spawned raids, madness, and rain of arrows. And that was the first time where I had like a lot of fun and really was like, oh, there's potential here. This could have really worked if we had more things like this. But that is the only run at all that had anything even slightly resembling some creativity and like an interesting build. Because everything else you see is more iframes on a dodge, or increased status ailment resistance, less frost buildup, that kind of shit. It's really boring stuff there. I'm not being exaggeratory. I've only seen a handful of drops that are more than just number changes. Like the walking ones I mentioned, there's also some rolling ones. There's one at the start of Sprint, and I think that's pretty much it that I can think of off the top of my head. Every other like passive buff you'll find after defeating a boss is just numbers. More poise, maybe, faster stamina recovery. That's really it. Oh, one more I just thought of. Successive attacks, healing a bit. But like, again, the vast majority of what you're going to find, the main bread and butter of the roguelike random drops you'll see are increase HP, that kind of shit. Outside of the buffs, though, obviously the weapons are random drops that come with a buff attached to them. So you're going to be hoarding, you're going to be filling out your whole inventory with weapons because those buffs will apply if you're not using them, unless some of them specify. So even those buffs are pretty lame, though. It's, again, increased damage on ranged attacks, increased crit damage, that kind of thing. They're just not fun randomized drops. They're just not. The weapons are the best drops, but they're weapons you already know. You know, like, it's nothing. I don't think they really cooked when it came to roguelike here. I don't think they really nailed the assignment, which is the antithesis to what roguelikes are supposed to be, where the most exciting thing is the randomized buffs or randomized gear that you're going to get that's going to dictate the build that you want to try and make work, and it makes you feel stronger, and it makes each run feel unique. Here, that is just completely gone, because all of those like passive buffs and shit are just number increases. Like, it's not interesting. The most interesting drops are the weapons, but it's weapons you've already used before. Like, they're not new in that regard. Like, there's new things you can do with them, like synergizing the skills, but there's like nothing really creative about the roguelike element of this. It's just so weak in that department. And it's not just that. As I mentioned, the relics that you get after defeating a Night Lord and failing against Night Lord, you still get the drops. Those relics that you put on your character that's supposed to like bump them up and make them feel stronger, it feels really negligible. Dexterity +3, Fizz attack up, successive shots increase stamina, which I thought sounded really strong, but in testing, you don't even notice a difference. Whether you have it or not, it does not make a noticeable difference at all. It's so trivial. Like, the buffs there from the relics are so minuscule. There are some that do make a difference. Like, some of them will give your starting weapon a status ailment, like poison. Like when you kill the butterfly, scorpion, Voltron, Force, the fucking Gundam, when those two fuse, that's one of the Night Lords. When you kill them, you get that relic, which will start your weapon with poison. That does make a difference. You can see that. That does feel right. Equilibrious Beast drops something where when you take a drink of a flask, if you sip an Estus, it will heal your party around you too. Also, that makes a difference. You can feel those. But those are very rare. Again, most of it is just random number go up a little bit, and you don't see a difference in your runs at all, and your builds never ever really change. It only matters what weapons you get. So you'll constantly just be trying to get the weapon that has the best buff attached to it, because even if you're not holding that weapon, even if you're not using it, you'll still have it active and applied to you. Unless, of course, it has like a red hand icon, that means you have to be holding it to get the buff. But those are like the only things that matter. The other ones that you get like outside of weapons, again, are just flat numbers, or like some defense that you're never even going to feel. It's just sad. Because there is potentially, after playing this, I can see like a good vision. If they had just put more time and creativity into the actual roguelike elements of better, more interesting drops that lead to interesting builds, like the walking build that I cooked up, that could have made it much more fun. Even though you are fighting the same enemies you fought a million times, it's still good gameplay. It's still Elden Ring gameplay, so it still feels nice, and it is fun to play with friends. Like, I have been enjoying it playing with Dankin and Scoots. It's such a game light with content. Like, you are actually just doing the same thing every expedition, which runs so counter to all the other roguelikes that I love. I will say, though, I'm very impressed with how well the game functions. I thought, given previous From Software titles, the multiplayer would be, like, laggy or not super serviceable. It is smooth as shit here. I mean, this is as smooth as my fucking paint, to be honest. I have not had any big lagging issues outside of a couple rare instances. Well, I'll take that back. The second Night Lord, the Gaping Jaw, he has one move where he, like, phase shifts into, like, jumping in the air and spawning a bunch of lightning. Every single time he uses that move, you are guaranteed to temporarily freeze during it, which is a big headache. But outside of that, no real lagging issues or anything like that. But it is completely devoid of all communication tools in-game. The best you can do is ping your teammates. So if you are someone who's playing without friends and you're gonna solo queue, just know you're basically playing deaf. You're not gonna be able to talk to your teammates. You'll just have to try and read their minds and follow their pings. That's about it. There's no communication tools at all for like teamwork, which is pretty dumb in a game that's all about co-op. I won't keep yapping about it, and I know already some people are gonna be really mad that I've criticized a From Software game, fake fan, because nowadays you have to like blindly love everything if you're a fan of that project or that property or that company, and if you don't, then you're excommunicado like a fucking John Wick universe. But like I said, I am enjoying the game. It's just not great. Like, it is just kind of weak. It just is. I'm sorry. There are problems here. If you're enjoying it, all power to you. I am as well. But I can tell you, after I finish the next Night Lord, I won't be going back anytime soon. Unless they add like a ton of new content to it or something over time, then maybe I'll return. But there's just not a whole lot here to keep me coming back. Like doing the Remembrance quests, I don't really care about. I don't really give a shit. It's just, once again, repeating the same expedition every fucking time, and it never really feels all that great. So anyway, I don't think the game is bad. I don't. Sorry to go against the grain there with a lot of people saying how bad the game is. I don't think it is. I think it's fine. Just fine. The biggest thing to me is it doesn't feel like there was a whole lot of elbow grease put into this one to make something special. It feels more like it was just an afterthought of a project, and ultimately the product feels more like a mod for Elden Ring than a new addition to it. I think $40 is still too much for what this has to offer. So that's really about it. See ya.